It's day 13, Vishnu, of the Russian invasion, and we're seeing that the fighting, the helicopters, is all stepping up, and Ukraine claiming it's killed a top Russian general. What's the latest you have?
Well, I think the overall situation is fairly grim for Russia at this stage. The fact is, on day 13, they still haven't controlled either Kiev or Kharkiv. And despite this video, which in fact I've seen very closely, it doesn't reveal very much. What we do know is that the Russians are very, very seriously challenged as far as logistics are concerned. And at this pace, they will not achieve any significant military objectives. The big worry is, given the fact that they've not made the progress that many had expected them to make, will they now go ahead with some massive aerial bombardment, which would possibly be the next step? And that is a big worry, because that would result in mass casualties. All of this, Sonia, on a day in which several Indians who were trapped in Sumy, that's further to the east and the south of Kiev itself, have been evacuated. That's great news, because these were Indian students and Indian nationals who'd faced the worst of it. They'd seen intense firing in their area. They were out of supplies, and the process of getting them out has taken time. But finally, they are on their way to safety.
Right, and of course, you talked, Vishnu, about that. So the ceasefire model in areas where we've seen civilians, especially, are being hit so hard in Russian bombing, in Russian missile strikes. Are we going to see, is this a ray of hope in the days ahead, or are we likely to see an escalation? Let's just look at those pictures of the Indian students finally leaving Sumy. Remember, they were drinking, they had no electricity, they were in a bunker of the university and were actually drinking snow because there was no potable water.
Yeah. No, absolutely. They were drinking, they were melting ice, and they were drinking that for so many days. No, I don't think it's possible at this juncture to actually see whether there is going to be any massive escalation. I would suggest that any escalation that happens has to be with the use of air power. But here's another point. 13 days into this conflict, Russia, with its gigantic air force, still doesn't control airspace over Ukraine. It's still heavily contested. So this is going to be a protracted battle one way or the other. This is the opposite, as I've been told by a defense analyst and a foreign policy expert, of what we saw in Afghanistan. This is very much the opposite. That even if there are eventual military gains by the Russians, the spirit of the people over here is absolutely against Russia. There is no doubt about it. And this would end up being a guerrilla battle, which could go on indefinitely.